I don't think there is no other sport that can compare in popularity to football. This sport is clearly called the king of sports worldwide for a reason. It counts with millions of fans throughout the world. Fans who, just like in every other sport, will do anything for their team, and lifts them up with happiness whenever their club manages to lift the cup, winning a championship. But not everything is happiness, and this sport, just like anything else, has its dark side, especially Mexican soccer. It saves stories and urban legends that will surprise us when we first get to know them, since it brings together curses to extremely regrettable and horrible events. So without further ado, this is Creepshow, and I present to you Mexican Soccer Urban Legends. The Estadio Azteca Urban Legends. There's lots of urban legends based on this stadium. For example, the offerings that were made in large buildings, and it's basically burying someone between the columns of so-called bridges or large buildings. This supposedly so the building can't stand and doesn't collapse as a type of exchange between the soul and the good condition of the work. Despite the time, it's said that in Mexico City subway, there are a large number of people who drowned in the tunnels, almost always people who came from other states to work in the capital. And it is that in between many of the great buildings that exist in the city, the Azteca Stadium stands out as one of the most important. The Colossus of Santa Ursula, inaugurated in 1966, according to this legend, it was built under these type of rituals so that it would be preserved. This is how people apparently lie between the enormous pillars. Although, there has also been said that it was built in an old Aztec cemetery, but there is no record of that. But many families were aggressively evicted for the construction. And with that said, there's quite a few legends about the Azteca Stadium, and the ones about the ghosts that apparently haunt it. And this due to that most of the workers and columns manifest themselves between the corridors and the stands. But among all of them, there is one about a child who lost his life in the Azteca Stadium due to a fight that caused an avalanche. And he died from the pushes and stomps from all the people. And now the little boy appears in the middle of the night, between the stands, asking for his father, with whom he assisted the tragic day in the stadium. The strangest thing is that a television network approached during the night, went to the Azteca Stadium to make a report, and they managed to see a small figure pass at the very end of the hallway. Real or fake, it is a very interesting legend to think about. If you go to the bottom of the Azteca Stadium, you will surely notice a statue-like figure among the fans. His name is Nachito, a bronze figure with a post that resembles celebrating a goal. But who was this person? Back in 2001, a contest was held that would award the most important faithful fan who has kept more tickets to attend the Azteca Stadium. The winner was Nachito, who was given a seat for life and a part of bronze sculpture that would remain in the stands. But the curious thing is that people have concluded that he retains energy of many people who died in the stadium. And not only that, but workers have reported seeing the statue move, either by suggestion of the story said from the stadium, or in truth various spirits or energies use this figure to manifest themselves. The legends of the Azteca Stadium are truly interesting and gives us something to think about. But let me know, have you ever heard about these urban legends? The Gate 29 of the Estadio Olímpico. There are misfortunes in soccer. Sometimes they have to do with players and the teams. But this time it has to do with fans. And it's something you never imagined while attending a football match. It was the date of May 26, 1985. Mexican soccer clubs, Pumas and America, were competing in the final of the tournament. And the fans did not want to miss out on the long-awaited match of their favorite teams. It is said that there was an overbooking of tickets due to corruption in the stadium, but the overcapacity was more than evident. From the first minutes, 90,000 spectators were in the Olympic Stadium, way too many considering that the stadium had the capacity of only 65,000. Outside, there was 30,000 people waiting to get in, and the tempers were getting really high. Most of the young people outside wanted to get into the stadium, and with a good reason, since they claimed they had tickets, valid, authentic, although many tickets were said to be counterfeit. Between the limited capacity of the authority and the fervent desire of fans, Gate 29 of the Olympic Stadium, which had been closed, was later opened, giving a stampede of people and was monstrous. The tunnel, that is somewhat narrow, was filling with a huge amount of people, making them push against each other to be able to pass to the other end of the tunnel, into the stadium. The first couple of people that reached the other end of that tunnel ran into another closed gate, making this a real harmful scene. The people were trapped, crushing, pushing, and stepping on each other. It was a total madness. But imagine this. Have you ever went Black Friday shopping in the early 2000s with hundreds of people running into each other? Or been on a busy subway with tons of people pressed on one another? And imagine this, but inside a narrow stadium tunnel. These scenes were so horrible. So horrible that due to YouTube censorship I really can't show the pictures. But there's a photo that will make you feel upsetting and uncomfortable. A photo of a man crying carrying his son in his arms. His son was in Tunnel 29. The man was trying to get an ambulance to get help for his son, but it was useless. Nothing could have been done, and all this happening while the game was barely even starting. And since then, the Olympic Stadium never sells the complete tickets. That's why, if you ever get the chance to watch a soccer game live from their stadium, there's still small empty spots. People say that when you pass through Gate 29, you feel an offsetting and dense vibe. The new Monterrey Stadium and its curse. The curses of stadiums has been a topic that is increasingly talked about as an urban legend in the world of football. The home of the team that must be in its comfort zone, where it can not only play with more freedom but also feel the support of their fans. But what will we see next is the total opposite for the team. Humiliating defeats and lost finals are some stadium curses that we heard. But what we're going to talk about today is a very recent curse that converges on the Monterrey team, or more exactly their home. The Rayados of Monterrey have been playing at the BBVA Stadium for 5 years. They had their first match against Benfica on August 2nd, 2015. Since then, the stadium has been the center of attention, but not because of its beautiful agriculture and modern stadium, but because of a series of negative events that involved things that had happened to the stadium range. From sudden blackouts to mushrooms on grass, and to sum up, it's something rare that happens on any field. But that's besides the point. But now, we will talk about the supposed curses the stadium beholds. The first one speaks about that in its field there is a chicken that was very well buried, and it was placed there by some witchcrafters. But the other legend that a lot of fans have heard of, and that I consider the most interesting, converges to a supposed curse that was by the then Club America player Miguel Zamudio. But let's first take a look at the lost finals that Monterrey had lost continuously. The first one was almost a year after opening their new court. It happened on May 26, 2016. Everything seemed great. They had tied the score. They had been losing since the first leg. And everything seemed clear for Los Regios. The problem started when they failed a penalty. Monterrey after looked more discouraged until Pachuca scored a goal 1 minute before the end of the match, and this making the Hidalgo Mexican team champions. A year later, in the final of the 2017 Apertura, Monterrey faced its biggest rival Tigres. Rayados, playing home with the BBVA packed, they lost the match, having among crying fans. The most painful final, without a doubt. The next one occurred in the final of the Copa MX facing Cruz Azul on October 31st, 2018, and to everyone's surprise, Cruz Azul won the final against Monterrey. Something that surprised a lot of people. This made people have conclusions on what the hell was going on with the team, but apparently, all this had happened ever since the semifinals versus Club America. As we talked before, Rayados versus America were playing the semifinal away match with the score being tied, until a penalty in favor of Rayados was called. Due to that, Zamudio had stopped the ball with his shoulder, confusing it with his hand. While getting ready to kick the penalty, Samudio was caught inside the goal. Doing like some type of ritual, he knelt down and began to pray, raising his voice and shouting at the sky, saying, "There's a God. There's a God." Later on, the player received a yellow card, and after this, Edwin Cardona had scored the penalty, sending America back to Mexico City. But then later on, Cardona and other players would miss penalties during important matches in this side of the goal net. It was said that Samudio did curse the goal, but all this ended when Rayados had beaten America in the final of 2019, but in the Azteca Stadium, not the Rayados Stadium. And later on in 2021, they played versus America in a CONCACAF final, and this time beating America and winning the final at the Rayados BBVA Stadium. And last year of 2024, everything went downhill when Rayados versus America were playing the final league championship, and America had beaten them in their home stadium, making America champions at the Rayados Stadium. Maybe this curse only happens when Rayados plays the last league final match in their stadium, but quite an interesting urban legend, if you ask me. Let me know what you think. The witchcraft of Haiti versus Mexico. The witchcraft has been a constant in football and especially in Latin American territory. It began in the year 1973, and the 1974 World Cup was almost around the corner. Back then, CONCACAF only gave one ticket to go compete in the World Cup. First, there were 14 teams in 6 groups. From there, the rest of the high scorers would play in another venue. And from those 6 winning teams, the only privileged one would come out and was going to the World Cup. The venue was Mexico, but it was sold to Haiti. This is where we could say the strange things occurred, and a nightmare for the Mexican national teams. According to Enrique Borja's words, there could have been several negative but above all extremely strange events that Mexico experienced upon the arrival of Haiti. He states that because of a report made in Mexico that spoke negatively of the Caribbean country, they were angry, and the pages of the newspaper where the report was found were pasted from various places from Haiti. It seemed that someone wanted to sabotage them. Upon their arrival in the bus, a group of people surrounded and began to move it. The fear was evident in the footballers. Later, on the bad luck, came the games when Mexico could not win and ended up only winning 2 matches. But the defeats were really strange. Injured players. The substitute national goalkeeper, Rafael Puente, hit his head against an opponent and fell unconscious on the field, followed by a chill that ran through his body. Ignacio Calderon hurt his hand trying to open a soda. This had damaged his hand and could not play. But the curious thing is that he was also a goalkeeper. This seems as if someone wanted the hand that defended the Mexican goal to be uncovered. Other players such as Enrique Borja, who suffered a leg pull, were also affected. Just like Hector Pulido, Horacio Lopez Salgado, and other players either because of the bad vibes or the negative energy that was being pushed towards the Mexican team by the Haitians. Borja has been the one who has spoken the most about the qualifier, and he vividly remembers that the Haitian administration made a witchcraft ceremony happen in the same hotel they were staying. This so that in Mexico they would see one of the many traditions of that country. But that later related to the series of negative events, and may have been carried out to another dark reason. And finally, Mexico did not win to the World Cup. And curiosity, Haiti did manage to go to the World Cup, but they didn't make it past the first round. This event has been described as an urban legend that had really happened back in '73. And that's it for today's video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. This was Creepshow, and I wish you all a good scare.